Good. I'll be driving by your house in a few minutes.
Oh, man. All right. I'll look for you, Mark. Are you in Chicago?
We're on just about to the Indiana line, headed to Michigan. So.
Oh, there you go. Good. Yeah, that's it. Michigan City, baby. Kevin, I hope you're burning some calories for me. Thank you for that. Michael Flint, how are you, my friend? I don't want to get you in an accident. I know you're driving, but good to see you.
You're good. I got free hands. I'm good. Right. Thank you.
Good to see you. Shannon, great to see you. Wayne, good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you, sir. You too.
Are you in that post-PLS hangover?
Yeah, it's an odd spot. I'm actually on vacation right now, sitting on the beach. So apologies for not having the camera on, but hanging out.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I'm glad you're on. Thanks for being here. Hey, Chris Wysong.
Hey, howdy. Thanks for having me here.
Thanks for being on. So I got to give Chris a shout out. Chris has a business and he's got a product called the Bucket of Bread. And mine's in Indiana, so I don't have it with me, but it's a bucket and all you got to do is add water and then you put it in the oven and it bakes a beautiful loaf of bread. And you can make other things with the bucket of bread. You can do like cinnamon sticks and a whole variety of things. So Chris is a entrepreneur and a baker. It's good stuff. So go visit Bucket of Bread.
Hey, thanks for the shout out.
That's my plug. I haven't actually had the bread yet, but I'm trusting it's world.
Well, you have enough dough to last you a couple weeks in the fridge, so you have a pretty good meal prep kit there, and feel free to jump and use any of the recipes on the website.
That's awesome. That's great. Welcome others. Hey, Doug. How are you, sir? Hey, Sandra. Good. We got a good crew. Well, I'm going to go ahead and kick us off. We've got the schedule for about an hour. If we're short of that, that's okay too. But these monthly all hands calls are really intended to be a chance to build community, share best practices, hear what's going on around the country, learn. I always try to tell people, do not feel any guilt if you haven't lifted a finger for VPI. It's not happening everywhere all at once. And really part of what we're doing here is trying to create a presence in all 50 states. I think Eric has successfully onboarded leaders in 44 states. So we're marching towards that mile marker of having someone in all 50 states who can stand up and represent the issue of open primaries and ranked choice voting and final five voting, and really getting our country to a place where everyone can vote, every election matters, and there's real choices on the ballot. And we in this country so often and very sadly do not have that. We do not have elections in fact. We have elections in name, but not in fact. We have between gerrymandering and geographic sorting, 86% of districts are not competitive. And even those that are in theory competitive are most often determined in the primaries. And so and all of that is to the exclusion of registered independents. And all of that creates extreme politics that is a misrepresentation of where people in this country are at. So we are trying to create a healthy and competitive democratic system, not towards the benefit of any one party or any one ideology, but in the spirit of trying to reflect the will of the voters in this country, which so often is not the case. So that's what we're here to do. These calls are 1 hour. I don't want to do all the talking. I won't do all the talking. Sometimes we've got guest speakers. We had Andrew Yang on a prior call. I was just speaking to retired Vice Admiral Sestak, who was a Democratic member of Congress, 3-star admiral, left, became a registered independent. He's going to join our call and talk about what he's seeing. So we're going to bring on periodically guest speakers and thought leaders. If you have folks that you think would be interesting to bring on the call, feel free to send them my way. I want to make sure that these calls are valuable and interesting for you. So in a minute, what I want to do is kind of open up and we'll go around the horn for some state-based updates. There's some very exciting things happening in Alaska, where we're running a sort of a defense on the current election system, Nevada, where Doug, Sandra, and the team are spinning up to pass Final Five voting again in the next election cycle, Idaho, where Jim Jones and the team have filed ballot language for Final Four voting. The Attorney General there is pulling some stunts to try to make the language pejorative, and they're taking him to court over it. So lots happening around the country, Virginia, Wisconsin, other places. So we'll get into it. But before that, I want to just acknowledge Yinka Falati, who's on the call, who is our board chair, my boss, among other things, my brother, my boss, and a real thought leader in this stuff. Former candidate for Secretary of State in Missouri, former executive director of Forward Through Ferguson, and now a venture capitalist. So Yinka, over to you for some comments and reflection to the national volunteer team here.
Thanks so much, Todd. And thank you, everybody. It's good to see you. It's great to see all the faces all across the screen. I know you represent different branches of our service, different parts of our country, even different political ideologies and philosophies. But we're all united in this one thing. We know that our current political system is broken and only innovation will fix it. My name is Yinka Falati, and as Todd shared, for almost 2 years now, I've had the great honor of being able to serve as the board president for VPI. I'm an Army veteran. I led soldiers on active duty for 6 years in tank units from Legacy Fort Hood to Kuwait and back. Now it's Fort Cavazos, I believe. And I live in St. Louis with my wife and 4 kids. I've lived here for 18 years, just about now. And I see a few faces across the screen that I recognize. There are a bunch of folks that I haven't yet met, and I look forward to the opportunity to meet you, hopefully in person in time. But I do see Kevin Miller in Wisconsin. Kevin, thank you for your work with VPI. I see Jeremy Butler is the immediate past CEO of Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, and he is our newest board member. Actually, he just joined the VPI board just a few months back. Thank you, Jeremy, for joining. Thank you for your work. And Todd and Eric, it goes without saying, Todd and Eric are some of the hardest working folks I know in terms of this movement. They just got back a few weeks back from Alaska, where they were pounding pavement and taking our message there and supporting folks in Alaska who are on the ground doing this work. So thank you, Todd. Thank you, Eric, for what you're doing day in and day out. And I want to thank all of you all across the screen, what you're doing all across the country. You know, VPI does this work through you. You are the tip of the spear, and we're here to support you as you push for innovation in your various states and locales. We appreciate you. We thank you for all that you're doing, seen and unseen. We know that we can't record everything that's being done, but we really do appreciate you. I'm looking forward to, on this call in the next 50 minutes or so, hearing your successes, hearing your struggles, and hearing how we can synergize and how we can better support you. So thanks so much for being here. With that, I'll turn it back over to Todd.
All right. Thanks, Yinka. Appreciate you and your leadership. I also want to just highlight Jameson's on the call, our marketing genius, our brand guru, who makes us, who's really built the whole platform of VPI and has done such a fantastic job. So if you guys need anything, or you're confused about where the assets are, we've got state logos, we've got brand assets, we've got signature stamps, we've got swag. We can help you. We can give you what you need to go to market as a member of Veterans for Political Innovation, and just, don't hesitate to reach out. We're here to serve you and work for you. So Jameson's on the call as well as a member of the team. Eric's in the car. We were yesterday in Chicago in a set of all-day meetings with Open Primaries, John Updike and Jeremy Gruber and the team there, who are doing really great work and have been doing great work for a decade. And we were just putting our brains together about how do we collaborate and expand our impact, because you can't do this work without partners. And Open Primaries is a great partner of ours. There are other partners on the ground in states, especially, who we're trying to work closely with. So I'm going to stop talking. Here's what I want to invite you to do. If you've got a state update or you want to share something, just raise your hand and I'll call on you. I think you can raise your hand in the chat. You can do like this, actually. This is the new Zoom feature. And I'm going to start with Michael Flint, tip of the spear, Alaska, the great frontier, the only state in the country with Final 5 voting. Love to get your perspective, Michael.
Well, I did put it in the chat. The main update I have is that Alaskans for Better Elections just filed another complaint against basically Kelly Shabaka's group, Alaskans for Honest Elections, which is allegedly a bipartisan group, but it's not. And they've done a bunch of campaign violations, it sounds like, including before they were funneling money through a church. So that's ongoing, but I did put it in the chat. Hopefully that goes somewhere, but I'm not really sure. If you remember, that was part of the group that showed up at our event, the Alaskans for Honest Elections. So
yeah,
that's what I.
Interesting stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of drama up in Alaska. Alaskans for Better Elections is the group that we're affiliated with and supporting, and then Alaskans for Honest Elections is the opposition group. And there's some lawsuits flying and things like that. So hopefully in Alaska, it doesn't get relitigated, that the election innovations just stick as they are, but it's a close moving situation. Michael's done a fantastic job of bringing other leaders along. Alaska really is like first in the country to move on this issue. And it's important that we have a robust presence there. So we've got now 6 volunteers along with Michael who are joining the cause. We've got a call tomorrow. So we'll all get synced up then. Eric and I are looking forward to that. But Alaska is important. If you have friends and networks in Alaska, please send them our way. Mike Cantwell, let's go to you, sir.
All right. Got some good news, bad news, and good news update here. So had a great meetup with Northern Virginia Forward Party folks last Thursday. And that was awesome. Met with CEO Lindsay Drath, and we were well represented there with several VPI members. On Saturday, the Arlington County Board, even after vigorous testimony by myself and several other VPI members and League of Women Voters, Upvote, and several other coalition partners, they decided not to use ranked choice voting in the general election for county board, even though they used it in the Democratic primary election. So, so that was a little bit of a setback, but I'm so inspired by our coalition partners, and also just another double tap on the need to get really, really wonky on this stuff, right? So we were trying to do there were 2 open seats in the Arlington County Board, and doing proportional ranked choice voting is really, really complicated, right? If there's only 1 seat, it's a lot easier to explain and implement. For 2 seats or more, it's really, really complicated. Not saying we shouldn't have done it. I'm just saying it is complicated. And then the other good news is that we're having another coalition meeting with our Forward Party partners down in Fredericksburg, Virginia, on Saturday. So a lot of great energy here in Northern Virginia and DC, but also some setbacks. That's out here.
Mike, thanks for that. Will RCV go then in 26?
Well, actually, they could do it in 2024. So Arlington County Board has elections every year for board members, and there's 5 board members, and so there's only 1 year that they have 2 seats open, unless there's like a resignation or something like that. So they could do it in 2024 for both the primary and the general election, but it's really frustrating. They're just afraid. One party rule. It's the anti-democratic forces are strong, and we have to be stronger. So,
no doubt. Okay, great. Thanks, Mike, for the update. Ted, or Theodore. I think you're on mute, my friend. Give you a second there. Theodore, I'm gonna go. Let's go to Doug. We'll come back to you once we get the audio.
Yeah, just update here. Of course, we're in the planning for the campaign leading up to second passage of Final Five voting next November. But one of the things that's going to actually be beneficial for us, probably by the end of this month, nonpartisan is what we call independent voters, will be the top segment of voters in the state. Right now, the combined non-major party voters are, but as of the end of last month, there's less than 0.25% difference between voter share of nonpartisan and a Democratic Party. So when that happens, it's going to be a wake-up call for the Democratic Party that, they're no longer the top registered, and probably around the end of the year, and definitely before the next election, both major parties will be below 30% of voter share. So that's all in our favor, and that's what's happening here.
That's interesting. Thanks, Doug. And that mirrors national trends, by the way. I mean, that, party identity, amongst the military community, 49% are unaffiliated or registered independent, which is more than the two major parties combined. Good stuff. Mike, we'll go to you, and then John, and then Theodore, we can come back to you. Mike Slocum.
Thanks, Todd. Appreciate you calling my name. I just want two things real quick. I don't want to take up anybody's time too much, but I wanted to give a shout out to your partner, Eric Bronner, and we had a hard time hooking up on the phone. And I admired and was very impressed by his persistence in hunting me down, and due to family issues and time issues and everything. And I was really impressed and thankful for that. I also wanted to give a shout out to my home state here in Washington that I explained this to Eric, but I'm a refugee, an activist refugee of the Democratic Party. And I'm currently an independent, and we talked about being politically homeless, but I live here in the city of Billingham, which is about 15 miles south of the Canadian border. I've lived in Oak Harbor 3 different times where NAS Whidbey is. I've lived in Tacoma. I did a recruiting tour over in the eastern part of the state, over in Spokane. And I'm here to tell you as an organization, my VPI brothers here, that the state of Washington is ripe for an organization like VPI. Okay. And for those of you that don't know, the city of Seattle and King County is not a reflection of what this state is. Okay. And everybody thinks of this state as strictly a deep blue state, which I suppose it is in numbers. But you get outside of the city of Seattle and it's a lot different. So those of us that are already here and willing and able to help, and hopefully I'll be able to help in the future, are here when you need us. Okay.
Outstanding. That's great, Mike. Thanks so much for that. And welcome to the call. And I agree, Washington's got a lot of potential. One of the bright spots of the movement has been in Oregon this past year, where just grassroots energy, they got organized and they pushed a ballot initiative forward, and they've had a lot of success there. So let's get Washington on the map. Thanks for that. I'm going to go, Theodore, to you.
All right, let's see if it's working this time.
You're good.
All right, good to go. So hey, Todd, this is Todd Achilles from Idaho. Just a quick update. So we, as you said, we sued the Attorney General for his completely false and misleading ballot titles. Asked for expedited response from the Supreme Court. They are responding. The Attorney General's got 7 more days, or he's got to respond to the court, and then we've got a day to counter. So we're moving forward on that at the pace we wanted. Our partner Reclaim Idaho just is continuing to have volunteers sign up. It's, I think, one of the most effective grassroots organizations in the country. They're close to 1,000 people that have signed up to help to get signatures on the initiative. So tons of good momentum there. And then in our conversations with folks around the state, what we're seeing is more and more conservative groups coming off the sidelines and raising their hand to help out. So there's a real schism going on right now within the Republican Party. A lot of the kind of pragmatic traditional Republicans are tired of what's going on and ready. They see the need for electoral reform. And so they're, the first ones are starting to come off the sidelines. They're a tad reluctant, but they're coming on board. So I think we got some good momentum there. And then finally, we decided to give ourselves a name in Idaho. So still tight affiliation, obviously, with all the good work that you guys are doing, but we've decided to call ourselves Veterans for Idaho Voters. And I think we're going to try and stay active in political issues well beyond this initiative and make sure that military veterans in the state have a voice going forward.
Todd, that's awesome. And apologies for the name confusion. I'm always gun shy on correcting what I see.
No worries.
That's fantastic. I like the name. And Eric and I were just on a national funder call where we were talking just about what's going on in Idaho. So I'm going to make an introduction shortly on that front as well.
Good.
See if we can help connect you to some resources.
Appreciate it.
Important. So yeah, just absolutely love what you guys are doing. Lisa, go to
Hello
you.
from Colorado. I am 9 months pregnant, so I'm hanging out on my couch really comfortable. So don't mind me. So I met with a couple of people to try to see if we could get funding for a ballot initiative with the Colorado Democracy Alliance. And they pretty much belly laughed at the idea of trying to do ranked choice voting because they like the power, because we're a super majority of Democrats right now. So that didn't work. So plan B, I think I'm going to run for state office next year and just create a bill. And that'll be plan B. So we'll keep you posted, but it seems like the super funders of ballot initiatives don't want to support that just because they lose power, and they're just being frank there. So we have to look at a different option. So that's my update from Colorado.
Thanks, Lisa. Disappointing and not surprising. What's so interesting about this issue set is just how it cuts locally. And it really is like entrenched power doesn't want it. And super minority parties are like, sure, let's try it. And so it's not surprising, but it's disappointing. Keep us posted on ways that we can be helpful there. I will, the other Lisa, who's not on the call, Lisa Rice, who is in Washington, D.C., is just an outstanding leader. If y'all have gotten a chance to meet Lisa, she filed the ballot initiative in Washington, D.C. yesterday. Both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party came out in opposition to her efforts. And it's causing a real rift in the Democratic Party because a lot of Democratic activists are strongly in support of open primaries and ranked choice voting. So for the official party line to come out in opposition to what Lisa Rice is advancing there is creating a lot of controversy, and rightfully so. So there's lots more happening. Lisa's probably not going to join the call because she's literally in the thick of it, and I think in and out of courts and appeals and things like that around the ballot language. But there's momentum in Washington, D.C. Let's go, John. Did we get your update? And then Steve, we'll go over to you.
Okay, greetings from the Empire State. We don't have a lot to update, but wanted to add our thanks to Eric Bronner. I'm also affiliated with Unite New York here in upstate New York, and Eric ran into our executive director, Tim Dunn, last week, I think, at a meeting online. And Eric has graciously agreed to put us into contact with the head of the AFL-CIO up in Alaska, who has agreed to make contact with the head of AFL-CIO here in New York and talk to them about the benefits of ranked choice and Final Five, and see if we can get some traction that way and hook up the AFL-CIO efforts with our efforts to Unite New York's here in the Empire State. So, Eric, I wanted to thank you very much for your help, and hopefully we'll be able to make some ground and actually have something to report next time around.
That's great, John. And thanks to Eric, of course, as always, for being the heart and soul of all the operation. And it is really interesting. and I'm looking at Michael Flint. So up in Alaska, the AFL-CIO, Joelle Hall, I believe is her last name. Phenomenal
That's
leader,
right.
just an absolute rock star. But she, as head of AFL-CIO and the largest labor union for Alaska, was really opposed to Final Five voting and was skeptical, Final Four voting in Alaska. It was skeptical. But she saw it play out, and she really did like an about face on it, and has decided that it's really creates a much healthier government environment. She's able to advance bills and efforts that are good for working families and find common ground working with Republicans in ways that wasn't possible before. So she's been really strategic in the new election environment to create opportunities for legislation that weren't available in the past, that are good for Alaskans, not just about labor, but just good for Alaskans. And so she's phenomenal, and she's been generous with her time to help explain the issue to other people. Other advocates in Alaska include Lisa Murkowski, her chief of staff, Mary Peltola. So there's lots of Republicans and Democrats and labor leaders in Alaska that can help. If you need people making those warm phone calls to holdouts in your states, we can help hopefully tee up some of those folks for you. Steve, over to you in Florida.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Todd. For the Lisa on the call, I just put my email in the chat. If you'll send me an email once I get a recording of a virtual discussion that was held last Friday with Kent Theory in Colorado, I think you'd be interested in hearing what he had to say. And that was hosted by Open Primaries for Lisa Rice in DC, and organization Students for Open Primaries, which grew out of our 2020 campaign for top 2 open primaries. Dario Cruz Rodriguez, who's one of the co-founders of that group, was there in DC to support Lisa's effort. Mentioning, as you did early on, about your conversations with John and Jeremy at Open Primaries. Yes, we are kicking off a campaign. Kicked it off about 2 weeks ago. We're trying to generate a lot of interest in closing what we call the write-in loophole here in Florida. We're got a website. It's got a great tool where people can just go in 30 seconds, put their name and address in, and sends a letter to their 2 representatives in the state. Got off to a good start. Got several hundred people that have already sent letters. So we're pursuing that. And I just wanted to tell you real quick, hopefully, I'm all in on that, of course, and hopefully it's going to lead to bigger and better things. But I just wanted to mention briefly that Alyssa Larkin at IPI sent me, forwarded a contact to me, and I've now had 2 telephone, or actually Zoom conversations with him. And he's a venture capitalist of sorts in Broward County, and he's very interested in Final Five voting. He seems gung-ho, and we're going to continue that relationship. And I'm going to send you, John, and Eric an email at a later time, giving you more specifics on that. But this is really exciting. He wants to put a ballot initiative for Final Five voting on the Florida ballot in 2026. So it's exciting stuff.
That's great, Steve. And I'm happy to join a call and help give the pitch on your behalf. It doesn't have to, if we can be helpful in helping land investors to invest in the efforts in Florida, we're happy to show
Oh yeah,
up.
sure. He's all about raising the money. We had a short conversation about money because he was kind of all over the place with, showing me this white paper that he's been working on and different things. But yeah, he's all about raising the money. And he asked me, what we thought it would take. And when I had a conversation after the 2020 election with Catherine Gale and Brian Cannon at the time, they thought Florida would cost $35 million, but Sam Marr had told Mike Fernandez in January of 2020 that he thought $25 million would do it. And so when I told him that, he said, "Oh, I got to start raising money." But I don't know. Hopefully he's the real deal. I'll know more as our relationship progresses. But he's been a longtime member of the Young Presidents Organization, and I'll put more in the email about it, but he wants to do what they call an event in a box to 4 or 5 South Florida Young President Organization chapters, pushing this, telling them what it's all about and getting them, behind it. And I also plugged veterans, and he said, yeah, sure. I'm sure there's veterans in our organization that we can connect up with VPI. So things are finally starting to happen in Florida again.
Awesome. That's great, Steve. Thanks for that update. We're excited about what's possible there.
You bet.
Todd, is that you again? Or is that an old hand raised? Or are there others? Other updates? Does anyone have questions that you want to ask? So maybe not state updates, but questions or things that you're confused about or things that you'd love to explore.
This is Rob. I'm not sure if we've got Blake Trombley here in Nebraska. I wasn't on the past couple calls. I'm not sure if he's been introduced or not. But he's a trailblazer, and we're moving slowly but surely here.
Yeah, Blake, why don't you introduce yourself? I'm going to plug in my laptop. Why don't you introduce yourself for the group? Good to have you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Blake Trombley. I live in rural Northeast Nebraska. I didn't grow up here, but I ended up landing here as after I met my wife. We came to live here, and so through the process of evaluating our current systems in place for voting and whatnot over the years, I've become quite disenfranchised by what I've seen. But I'm really excited that here in Nebraska we have the nation's if I'm correct, the nation's only unicameral legislature, and it's listed as bipartisan. And so, technically speaking, while maybe at the national level, obviously when it comes to the federal government, we have elections by party. When it comes to our state legislature, it is nonpartisan. And so, people don't run with letters behind their names. They run on their ideas. And so, that idea, I just love that fact. I've always thought that people should vote for folks based on, their ideas, not their party affiliations. And so I'm really excited to be on board with VPI, really excited to see where this goes in our state. In the last 2 legislative sessions in 106 and 107, there's been a total of 4 bills that have been submitted. Oops, 1 second. There's been a total of 4 bills that have been submitted that basically serve, kind of focus around the concepts of open primary. And as far as I've been able to see, looking at the legislative record, it looks like they were presented, made it into committees, and then ended up being shelved. And so, the way I look at it is these bills need to be put in front of people to give the people of Nebraska a chance to vote. On these things through the representatives at the state level, put these bills on the floor, the legislature, give the people of Nebraska the opportunity to choose, instead of these things being put into a committee and basically withering away into the void. So I'm looking forward to finding out, with working with Todd, working with Rob, how we can get these, the concepts in these bills move forward beyond just discussions in the committee, but actually put them on the floor of the legislature and at least give them the opportunity to be voted up or down. So
glad you're here, Dale or Blake. Awesome having you, and glad that we got a partner here for Rob to take the fight to Nebraska. So thanks for being on. Thrilled you're here. Brady, can I go to you to introduce yourself? Welcome to the call. Sorry, no, there's a little.
There we go. Yeah. No worries. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Pleasure to meet you all. Name's Brady Fagley. Just got out of the Marine Corps about 4 months ago. Currently living in Hawaii, but probably moving back to California pretty soon here. Prior background before the Marine Corps, I got a law degree, University of Houston. So originally from Texas, took some elections law courses there, and certainly learned a little bit, and since then have not been very enchanted with the state of our election system and the state of political affairs, and I actually met Dan Biga as I was in the process of transitioning. He told me a little bit about the organization, and the more that I learned, the more I liked. So yeah, very, very happy to be here. Very excited to get to work, and very excited to work with you all as well.
Awesome. Congratulations on getting out of the Marine Corps, and thanks for your service, and welcome to the other side. We're thrilled to have you. Absolutely thrilled.
Thank you. Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks.
That's great. Karanjit, and correct me if I've mispronounced your name, but Karanjit Paul?
Yeah, that was pretty good actually for first time. I'm impressed.
Thanks. You can call me Todd. Simple. But yeah, Karanjit, please tell us what brings you here. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. So I actually saw you guys on LinkedIn, and after some exploration, I figured, hey, why not jump on in? I'm from New York. I served 5 years as a hospital corpsman. Got out and now work in finance and South Securities. And I was just really, I guess, it felt a little bit hopeless seeing our political narrative being shaped. Because when you talk to real people, we're pretty similarly alike, right? Like no one really has these extreme positions you see on the media, right? Like no reasonable person really has those, right? And I figured I wanted to be a part of this and part of us, right? But yeah, that's about me.
That's great. We're thrilled you're here. Thanks for being here. We've got a effort in New York City for municipal final five, yes on five, final five voting in the municipal election. So if you're not already plugged in, we can get you plugged into Sal Albanese and the gang that's advancing that in New York City. It could be the first, New York could be the first big city to implement final five voting in a municipal election, which would be a big step forward. And I think a lot of other cities would try to take a look at it as well. Wayne, can you introduce yourself to everybody?
Sure thing, Todd. Absolutely. Appreciate it. My name is Wayne O'Donnell. I'm still an active duty Coast Guard officer who is about 18 and a half years in, looking to settle down in Maryland, where I currently reside in the next year and a half as I leave service. And got introduced to VPI through Todd at the Presidential Leadership Scholars Program. Todd, we were lucky enough to have Todd come speak to us a few times, and the connection was great. And so I started researching the organization and trying to figure out what I can do to be active once I get out of the Coast Guard. Is kind of where I'm going. So I look forward. I was happy to connect this past week to the folks in Maryland and Eric, and look forward to jumping in with both feet when I can and seeing what happens. I'm currently detailed in Washington, D.C. to the Office of Management Budget at the White House. So that's where I currently work doing budget stuff, but I was a helicopter guy for 15 years. So don't hold the budget stuff against me. Great to meet you all.
Awesome, Wayne. Thanks for being here. We're super excited to have you on board. And we got a strong Coast Guard contingent. So this is good. This is good, leading the way. I will offer up, James, let's go to you. And then I'll offer up a update on Ohio. James.
Hey, Todd and everyone, happy Wednesday. Speaking of Wednesdays, if you happen to be in Hampton Roads next Wednesday, we're having an RCV mixer at a local brewery. It's not, we've put a bit of information out about it, but it's really one of our team meetings that we've said, hey, let's just advertise the heck out of it and answer questions while we're there. So it's, I'll put the location down there, but if you know anyone down here, or if you happen to be here yourself, please swing on by.
Awesome. That's great. And feel free to host. I think it's just, this is always true at Bunker Labs, but just like the easiest thing is to invite people out, something social, start the conversation. We are, like I said, trying to find folks in all 50 states. If you look at the national map that we have on our website, you can actually see where we are still looking for folks. I had a call 2 days ago with the Lieutenant Governor of Vermont, reached out to us and said, I like what you're doing, and I want to get Final Five moving in Vermont. And so we're looking for leaders in Vermont. It's one of the 6 places where we don't actually have task force leaders identified yet. So please, if you know folks in Vermont or other places where we don't yet have coverage, please connect them with us. One person makes a huge difference because it helps us get to 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. That's honestly, that's a huge deal. There is one kind of late breaking issue in Ohio. And I don't think we have anybody from Ohio on the call right now, but we've got a fantastic group of folks in Ohio who are part of the VPI network who are doing good work. But the state is advancing a ballot initiative, a special election to raise the ballot initiative threshold from 50% of voters up to 60% of voters. Why? Because they're scared of what they're scared of their own voters. They don't want to do what their own voters want. So the way to change that and to upend voter opinion is to raise the threshold. So a lot of states, you're going to begin to see this happening, are pushing for raising, either getting rid of a citizen ballot initiative process or raising the threshold to 60%. So it's really depressing. It makes efforts like ours that much harder because a lot of times we have to go direct to voters in order to get things like Final Five voting passed because incumbent power and politicians don't want it. So if you know folks in Ohio, we need them to vote no on 1 and engage with the coalition there. It's the Vote No on 1 coalition. So Ohio's a hotspot for us in unfortunately a negative way. And there's more on that story. The election is actually on August 8th. Are there other updates? James, I see the happy hour announced there. Other updates for folks that are new that haven't introduced themselves? I apologize if I missed you. Yeah, Kevin.
So as long as we got a little time, I figured I'd just throw this out there. So it seems odd that I'm actually one of the well, I'm an old guy. There's no question about that. But one of the old guys in the organization. But we're just coming up on 2 years since VPI started. And one thing for the new folks and people who are just getting involved, keep in mind we're playing a long game here. I think sometimes we get caught up. We feel like things look so bad in the world around us, so we feel like we have to have things happening so quick, and then we get discouraged when things don't go the way we want. So keep in mind that we're in this for the long run. Hard to believe. Go back through our whole history, and there were constantly things that came up that we thought this threatens the democracy. Will we survive this? I mean, we had a civil war. We had a freaking civil war, and we survived it, and we came out okay on the other end. But the Civil War didn't solve all the problems. We had to keep going. And I think we got a really good solution that is going to play out. But we just have to be patient. So in Wisconsin, we don't have a lot of updates because we have to wait for the legislature to act. So we're planting seeds. We're doing little things here and there, building inroads so that when the time comes, we're ready to help move whatever initiative the legislature puts out there forward. And we've already got bipartisan support in our state legislature so that when that bill is ready to be introduced, we've got support for it. And so wherever you are and whatever you're doing, don't get discouraged if things don't go your way. Celebrate the victories, learn from the defeats, and be ready to keep moving forward when the opportunities arise.
Couldn't have said it better. That's great, Kevin. And, just to ground this historically, I mean, progressives of the time fought for direct primary elections as a way to take power away from party bosses. I mean, that's how we got partisan primaries. But every, 50, 60 years, the country gets stuck and reformers have to insert themselves with a vision about how to help the country become unstuck and move forward. So we are part of that historical tradition. We are in keeping with that very American, very patriotic tradition of people outside the political system intervening to help it move forward and create a more representative democracy. Because, you know, it's like I don't know, it's like barnacles on a ship, right? Like over time, it just accumulates and the power structure builds protection for itself. And every 56 years, you got to strip that away and give voters access again. So we're just in one of those moments. And we've got a clear moral calling to the work that we're doing. And the people are with us. They just don't have the opportunity to express themselves. But you're right, we got to be patient and we got to be everywhere. You know, part of our strategy, what I'm seeing nationally, and I'm going to go to you, Nick, next, is at a funder level, you've had some early large donors like Ken Theory, Catherine Gale, the Arnolds, Catherine Murdoch, and then you've got some organizations like United America, right? But that's a pretty small universe. We're working in the background to expand that donor pool to say, if you are a donor who's talking about democracy, you got to take a look at election reform. And part of the ecosystem strategy is we got to double the high net worth donor pool and double, triple, 4x the resources that are being spent. That's the donor strategy. And then on the ground, this is the conversation we had with open primaries yesterday. We got to plant 1,000 flowers. And that's what everyone on this call is doing. Because we don't know if like the New York Yes on 5 campaign is going to pop, or More Choice San Diego, or if the Vermont Lieutenant Governor puts together a Final 5 voting campaign, or the Wisconsin legislature passes, or we get it done in Charlottesville. You know, it's like, you don't know where you're going to get a victory, but when you do, other states are going to take notice. And oftentimes you get a victory in a place that surprises you. And you look at an issue like cannabis, which no one was talking about 20 years ago, and then all of a sudden it legalizes in a couple places, and every state's having a conversation about it. Red, blue, and purple. So I think we're on the precipice of one of those moments, one of those movements. And we just have to sort of, to your point, Kevin, be patient, get active locally, and then play the long game and see how this thing unfolds, because we don't know. But you're going to be on these calls. We'll all have a front row seat to seeing how election reform kind of unfurls nationally, which is going to be awesome. All right, Nick, over to you, sir.
Hey, folks. Sorry, I came in a little late. I'm technically still working, but I thought this was more important for the future of our nation. So I have been with VPI for about a year or so. Came in because I saw Eric Bronner posted something on LinkedIn, and I was like, oh, this guy's a Naval Academy grad too. So I don't know, let's have a little phone call. So anyway, captured my heart, and I've been all in on this. So on the call, Doug Earl and I have been locally here working for Charlottesville, Virginia, and just outside of that, the county of Albemarle. And the two of us have kind of tag teamed to host several events, attend farmers markets, to one, educate people. We've built relationships with all the local officials on the board of supervisors and the city council to try and get how they feel about it. Generally, we're in a little bit more of a progressive area, so I think we have a little bit of a higher chance. Once you go a little bit further outside, it can become a little bit more of a conservative area. So there's been some pushback from that. But right now we're feeling pretty confident, especially in Charlottesville, as we're looking, one on the agenda in August, we have Charlottesville looking at ranked choice voting. You know, what's the benefit to voters? What actions would the local election officials need to take, like the general registrar or the director of elections, like literally from an implementation standpoint? And we've gotten vocalized support from all of at least 3 of the 5 city council members. And pretty much all the other 2 would support as soon as the other 3 vocalize their formal vote. But I think we're pretty close in Charlottesville, fingers crossed. But the goal right now is in December 2023 to get some sort of legislation or ordinance passed for the 2025 elections here in Charlottesville to be ranked choice voting. Cool, thanks.
Awesome, that's great, Nick. That's great progress. Exciting to hear. Yeah, even like going to a farmer's market, popping up and just being available for conversation, I think can have a huge outsized effect. If you do anything in the context of VPI, please take pictures and send them to us so that we can put it in the newsletter. Jameson puts together these phenomenal newsletters. I mean, people think that we've got like an entire marketing team. We don't. It's just Jameson and you and your photos. So send us that stuff. We love write-ups. We love blog posts. Any way that you can, help us build the story of what we're doing nationally is really helpful. I'm gonna unless there's any other comments, I'm gonna, Eric Bronner, if you can get to a place where you can come off mute, I'd love to, we'd be remiss to not hear from you on this call and for you to take us home.
Thanks, Todd. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, sound great.
I'm coming at you from a Dunkin' Donuts parking lot in central Illinois. So very inspiring, everyone. Thank you for being here. I mean, Todd and I can't, and Yinka and the team, we can't thank you enough for joining this mission as early adopters. And we are truly building this together. There's no hierarchy here. We are all about getting the mission accomplished by any and all means necessary. Of course, any or all ethical, wise means. But yeah, and you all are making it happen day in and day out. Sometimes some states feel really slow and sleepy, and then next week all of that can change. And we just never know. So Todd's analogy of planting 1,000 flowers, it's what we're doing. And again, we can't thank you enough for being on mission with us. So that's all I have.
All right, buddy. Thanks, Eric. Drive safe. Unless anyone's got any audibles, I'll go ahead and close the call, but please don't hesitate to reach out to me, Eric, Jameson, for any of your needs. Our board members are awesome as well. Nick.
Yeah, just follow up for everybody. What's the best way to send you promotion material, like photos of the group? Is that through email? Is that through Slack?
Yeah, shoot me an email. I'll put it right in the chat before I close out this chat, and that'll be best.
Great, thank you.
Email to Jameson. Fantastic. And Jeremy Butler, I know you got acknowledged, but I just want to give you a shout out as well as one of our newer board members, former CEO of Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. Awesome, awesome leader. We're lucky to have converted his energy into this direction. So great to have you on the call as well. All right, everybody, keep the fight up. Let us know how we can be helpful. We're here for you, and please don't hesitate to reach out and ask for things as you need them. We appreciate you. Bye, everybody.